Hi, it's Marie-Louise here, the Danish painter. In this video I will show you how to paint this loose, semi-abstract landscape with acrylics. It's still winter here in Denmark, and I find myself drawn to the beautiful silhouettes of trees against a winter sky. I want to keep my color palette ultra limited, so I'll only be using black and white and some Paynes gray. I'll be using Paynes gray from Golden brand of colors, but you can use any brand you like. Just know that Paynes gray varies greatly from brand to brand, so try different brands and find your favorite. I start out by very lightly drawing with a pencil the outline of where I want my trees to be, more or less. No details necessary, just kind of to indicate where I want my trees to be. And I decided I want them to be very high up on the page in the composition, and then a large foreground, which is going to be a field covered in snow, I imagine. I start out with a lot of contrast. The trees, I want them to be dark right away. The painting is going to be about this contrast, a very strong contrast of dark against light. I'm moving the thin layers of paint around on the paper with some baby wipes. This is something I just recently started experimenting with. Usually I just use paper towel, but I find that since baby wipes are moist, sometimes they make some nicer marks anyway, but try it out for yourself and see if this is something you like. But I do want to add that use the baby wipes without lotion, because lotion will get into your paint, and yeah, you just don't want any sort like that in your paint. I'm scraping into the wet paint with the end of my paintbrush. This is something I like to do to add texture and interest to the paint surface. You can also use a painting knife or some other tools to get the same effect. Now I'm adding the water-soluble crayons. I want to use them to remind me to keep making different types of marks, and it helps me to use different water-based media and mixing them back and forth, like acrylic paints, watercolor pencils. These are water-soluble crayons from Caran, I believe they're called. I've had them for over 20 years, and they've been with me for a long time. The big wooden watercolor pencils are called Woody, made by the brand Stabilo, and they're very nice as well. They're actually made for children, but I find they work very well for my paintings as well. I do want to add that the reason I'm mentioning the brands is because I get a lot of people that want to know the brands, but really you should just use what you already have. The best art materials are in fact the ones you already have, and just experiment and try things. I can't stress this enough, because art making should be fun and exciting. So go ahead and use what you already have, make experiments, and find your own favorite ways of making marks and your own favorite brands and combinations of different types of art materials. I always think of artists as explorers. We're exploring new ways of expressing ourselves and picturing things that are in our mind and our feelings. And sometimes we come up with something new. And this is really part of the process. And in my opinion, the most exciting thing about being an artist and being a creative person. I continually add more layers. At this stage, I wanted to change the outline of the trees a bit. I felt that they had become a little bit too symmetrical, so I'm kind of strengthening the asymmetrical shape. As I'm sure you can easily tell, I'm not using the photos I showed you in the beginning. I'm not using them as a reference photo as such. I'm more using them as a springboard to get some ideas. So I want the trees and I want a field in the front and I want some different variety of textures both in the trees and in the foreground. So really I'm just playing here. I'm playing along. I'm just trying out different marks, and if you notice I keep going back and forth between using the pencils, the crayons, and some water. Just sometimes I just use the pencil, the brush with pure water on it to dissolve the crayons and let them kind of mix into the paint. Notice how I keep adding more layers. These layers, it might be a surprise to some lesser experienced artists that how come I just don't mix the right color straight away and paint it. But actually this is something that distinguishes experienced artists from beginners a lot of times is the paint surface, because it all the marks and the previous layers of paint that are built up, they add character to the painting, and in fact they make the painting look more like you used a longer time making it, and that you had a longer process doing the painting. Mixing the right color from the beginning and just making a harmonious or even color, it does not equal an interesting paint surface at all. At this stage I'm pretty happy with the painting, and I want to add a bit of contrast to all the cool blues in the painting. So I'm adding here some water-soluble crayons, kind of a burnt sienna color, and I think it really makes the painting pop, the contrast between the blue, the cool blue shades, and this warm rusty color. All the layers I made kind of ended up making my painting a bit too dark. So I want to lift the value a bit and lighten up some of the areas, the snow in the foreground, and also I want to lighten up the color of the sky. I wanted to strengthen the center of interest a bit more, so I'm adding some very light color next to the darkest color in my painting near the center of interest. And this is to lead the viewer's eye around the composition. And I could probably stop now, but I keep adding a bit more. I guess this is one of the struggles we have as artists: when to stop, when to quit, when to stop adding more detail. In my experience, it becomes easier the more you paint and the longer you've been painting. Now let's get the masking tape off and take a good look at the painting. I hope you gained some value from my video. If you did, please like or share it. That way the video may reach and help more people. And if you're interested in more painting videos, you might like a video I did of an abstract landscape using only 3 colors plus black and white. I will link to it in the top of the screen. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.